Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 13th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. I'd like to start with the pledge, please. Allegiance to the flag and the United States. Al Galena could not make the meeting this evening. I have some announcements. Emergency exits are to your left and right. Should you need them, the restrooms are out the back doors to the left. Please be sure to sign the attendance sheet if you've come in and sat down before the meeting, and at the back of the room on the table. There are some business cards with contact information also on the back table next to the sign-in sheet and any copies of resolutions that we'll be reading tonight with the agenda. Please silence your cell phones or turn them off for the meeting so you don't distract from those presenting before the board or the discussions we have. And then please take any conversations you wish to have amongst yourselves out into the hallway and close the doors so you do not distract as well those presenting. So we have 5 items on the agenda this evening. One of them, Bluestone Trail, formerly 7200 Rawson Road, has been removed at least until the August 27th meeting. So if you're here for that, we will not be addressing that agenda item. We have 2 meeting minutes, right? The June 26th, 2024 meeting, I was absent for that, and the July 9th, 2024 meeting agenda. So June 26th, those who attended, any comments for Lisa? If not, I entertain a motion for approval of those meeting minutes.
I move. Second.
Ernie moves, Joe seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed 3-0 with 1 abstention. And the July 9th meeting agenda as well. Any comments for Lisa? Okay, motion for approval.
I move.
Ernie moves,
Second.
Joe seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed 4-0. Thank you. Correspondence received. Lisa, any? Not this week. Okay. Anything we have received is in your packets. Board committee meetings. I see Alexis is here from the town board. Thanks for being here, Alexis.
Nice to see you guys all again. Apologies I wasn't here last time. I was out of town for a couple weeks, but should be. I think the next one actually is my last one as your liaison. I don't know who's taken over after me though, but I can check.
I thought it was Dave, but okay.
Very quiet in town government right now. I've got 2 small updates. If you haven't seen that the fall edition of the newsletter is available on the website, please check it out. And that if you haven't seen the signs, Hometown Day / Climate Board Day is going to be September 14th, well, in the village, kind of downtown area. You're not going to miss it because it's going to be quite busy. Yeah, so we've combined Hometown Day and Climate Board and hoping for a big event. Good success. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nothing like a peaceful summer. Keith, planning board update.
Keith Maynard, project manager for the town of Victor. So your next planning board meeting is Tuesday, August 27th. There's a sketch plan application for the Nickloff subdivision, which is on County Road 9, Blazy Road. Applicant is requesting acknowledgement of a complete application to develop 42.4 acres into 8 lots with driveways coming off of Blazy Road. This is the first step in a major subdivision, and only acknowledgement of a complete application will be considered at this meeting. Next one's a public hearing for Flower City Dispensary. This is at 8053 State Route 96, down by, it's that separate little plaza by the Home Depot by 84 Lumber. Applicant is requesting approval to open a legal cannabis retail store in the Cannabis Overlay District. Next, preliminary subdivision application for the Smith subdivision, preliminary final application for the Smith subdivision, 421 County Road 9. Applicant is requesting approval to develop a second parcel from the existing parcel at 421 County Road 9. Lot 1 is proposing a lot line adjustment for a total of 1.508 acres. Lot 2 will consist of an existing home with a driveway access on to County Road 9 on 2.068 acres. Lot 3 will consist of 0.920 acres with access onto County Road 9. This is the second step in a major subdivision. And then the Hardy subdivision, which is at 7590 North Road. Applicant is requesting approval for a subdivision of the 36.3 acre parcel into 2 lots with the existing home located on Lot R1 and 9.585 acres. And then Lot R1A consists of the remaining 26.719 acres and a proposed new home. This is a second step in a major subdivision. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for
thank
Keith?
you.
All right, thanks, Keith. And that Smith subdivision that Keith mentioned is, for the next meeting, is actually one of the agenda items this evening, not a public hearing, but an acknowledgement of a complete application. So the public will have an opportunity at the next meeting to ask questions and address that. So with that, our first item on the agenda is the Hislop driveway waiver. Is he here? Oh, she is. Very good. Okay. I wasn't sure you were going to make it by the beginning of the meeting. We were going to move it back, but applicants requesting a waiver from the Design and Construction Standards driveway layout detail RS6, where a 20-foot maximum is allowed. Applicants requesting approval for a width of 29 3/4 feet. Good evening. Name and address.
Caitlin Hislop, 1513 Beaumont Way, Victor, New York.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to have it for the record for Lisa's meeting minutes. So if you wanted to expand on it, do we have a couple of exhibits that will show up?
So we purchased our home via Ryan Homes, and so when we were under construction, we closed during March, so our driveway was unable to be poured. During the construction process, we used a contractor who we, put our trust in, and we requested the expansion to the 3 wide to accommodate our 3-car garage. And we had seen other neighbors with the 3 wide, so we asked our contractor if that could be done for us. We were told, they came back saying yes, we just would have to pay an additional $2,000, which we were then given an invoice from the paving company. And then we were told that that was not correct. So this was after we had already moved in and closed, and then it was our home.
Right? As the intro stated, that the maximum allowed by the town for a home is 20 feet wide for a driveway. I suspect that with bigger homes, there's a need to at least, Susie, you bring that picture back up, please? They have a 3-car garage very close to the road. We had a staff meeting regarding, for this particular evening agenda item, and couldn't really not understand, but we know where the requirement is, that it's 20 feet, but we don't know what the background necessarily is for it. So I guess we'll leave it open to the board for questions, and Keith may have some input as well. So, Joe?
So does the house next door to you in the picture have the driveway the same width as yours? I'm curious.
They do not. So the first home, and when you come in on our street on Beaumont Way, the other street being Claremont, the first home does. That was the model home for the neighborhood. And then I'm not going to remember how many but 4 or 5 further from our house does as well.
Okay.
And closer, there's additional ones in the cul-de-sac as well.
So I'm just wondering, a question, I guess, for maybe the planning staff is, are the homes, is that subdivision complete? Are there going to be other driveways that are going to be doing this as well? Or are we going to be seeing more waivers, do you think?
Keith?
Sure.
I think I know the answer.
So yes, obviously we could always see more waivers as people finish. Every house in there is at least under construction. I don't know, Lisa, if you know off the top of your head, I don't think we've issued every C of O yet, but it's down to the last couple, but at least every lot is under construction in that development.
So I guess my question is, do we need to get with the builder to say that the standard is such and such, and that, or are we content with every
So honestly, this came in when I was on vacation, so I don't know if it was the builder that said it was okay, or if it was your actual like paving company that said it was okay, but the detail that we have even for like a wide, like a 3-car garage like that, is that it would taper before it gets into
Typically,
the
that's what I
right-of-way.
see, yeah.
So it's the width is within the right-of-way portion,
Right.
which is, 33 foot from the center line or whatever, so it's, the first roughly 10 feet of the driveway is town property. So it's in that space that you
Sure.
would see the radius come back down to that.
And I have no issue with the waiver in this particular case. I'm just curious if we're going to see every driveway in the subdivision looking.
I think the majority of them are in, and I think in your guys' letter, you stated that there's a few that are over that already within the driveway,
Okay.
within the development, so.
All right, thank you.
So the short answer is yes, you'll probably see a few more waiver requests
Okay.
to address this. Now, I'll open up to the rest of the board if you have any other
Well,
questions.
we had a standard for a reason, and we might as well just get rid of the standard if we're going to waive every driveway that
I
comes.
was going to go there with the conversation after we got a chance to run
Okay.
through it, but, okay, noted. Scott?
Well, I noticed on the instrument survey that when the stone was put down, based on this drawing that's highlighted, the stone seemed to comply with the 20-foot requirement. It shows the taper that we're talking about. So it's not like it's not feasible. It seems like a liberty was taken by someone. In dealing with asphalt and asphalt contractors, you can always saw cut asphalt and remove it. I've seen that happen many times. You could achieve the 20-foot at the street, and you could achieve the same width at the 3-car garage and comply with our regulations.
Okay,
That's my comment.
Ernie?
Yeah, I'm looking at Adam's note here, and he's got a drawing on there to show how it can be done to bring it into compliance. If we start approving every application that's not in compliance, we might not have to have those rules at all. Let's just go crazy. And it doesn't look like a real big job to bring it into compliance.
Okay. I guess the question is, how close is the driveway, or is the house to the driveway to make it reasonably, to have a reasonable requirement to bring it back into compliance versus, if you come in to the driveway, you have to swing wide to get to that 3rd-car garage? Now, Scott, you probably do this a lot in your
I mean, I
business.
guess you can taper it on one side or the other, or you could centralize it and put a slight taper on one side and a slight taper on the other side. I guess when I look at that photograph right there, I mean, that's a lot of asphalt.
It is.
And
Okay.
yeah, in terms of Joe's comment and the purpose of the regulation and others who may want to take the same liberties,
I would like to visit those standards, not during this meeting, but to see why it is that 3-car garage would need to come down to 2 cars width-wise for a driveway. If you have delivery vehicles, I think that conversation came up a little bit in our staff meeting. If you have cars in the driveway or only a 2-car garage, a 2-car driveway width, is it going to be a challenge for a delivery vehicle to get around cars that might be in the driveway to deliver? That's one item, argument. And what's the problem, I guess, with the 3-car garage driveway all the way out to the road? And I'd be interested to hear what our town highway department input would be as well, because I assume that they have to deal with it since it's on town property with the road, so. Anybody else have any thoughts about that?
Well, these standards are in there for a reason.
Right, I'm trying to figure out what that reason is.
Yeah,
What's-
I
what's-
can't figure it out
Yeah.
either.
I'd be interested to hear the input from the town's
Mhm.
highway engineer. And I don't know if LaBella has an opinion on that, one way or another, or. Kate?
Kate Powers, LaBelle Associates. I don't necessarily have an opinion whether to waive this or not. However, usually it's more aesthetically pleasing, and as well as you're going to have more pervious surface if you have fewer cars parking in the front yard and less pavement in the front yard. So that's likely not what the highway department's reasoning is, but usually for planning, you like to see parking in the side or the rear and narrower driveways. You don't want cars parked in the front, and you
Okay.
don't want your front yard to be all paved. That's just in a general sense, not necessarily applying to this.
I'm
That's
thinking,
where it's coming from, the
Yeah.
planning side.
I guess I wasn't looking for your input on
Yes,
the,
on
on the opinion of whether or not to
Yes.
approve it, but just what's the engineering logic behind a two-car entrance, maximum 20 feet versus widening it to meet a garage that's wider than that? So, okay. Nothing definitive, it sounds like, except for aesthetics perhaps.
I know that most of the driveways I see, most of the towns where I do business, it's usually 12-foot to 20-foot at the connection to the street. 12-foot for a single and 20-foot for a double,
Yeah.
and thereafter.
So I'll call it an auxiliary garage off to the side there. I assume you park your cars in the main garage door, and the side would
We
be,
use both.
Yeah.
We have a smaller sedan and then
okay.
my larger vehicle that goes in the double.
So do
We
you
have
have,
3 young boys.
three cars?
We just have 2.
okay,
2 cars. But we don't have a shed, so the back of the garage,
Sure.
has our lawnmower that we haven't gotten to use yet, but that we will be storing in there as well.
Keith, any other thoughts or input from what we talked about?
There's more of a question, I guess, and I think there was an email chain with Wes today based on comments that our construction inspector, Craig Cummings, had made. But is there any other specialized vehicles you guys have that you would need, like a larger turning radius to come in and off the road from?
Not specialized, other than we actually are trading in our sedan on Thursday because of the hailstorm. And we did purchase a truck. And then we have a Tahoe, Chevy Tahoe, so those 2 larger vehicles. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but, sorry, not like anything additional than those 2 vehicles.
What was the, I don't know, Scott, you mentioned that you saw the layout, the gravel layout, right? On the,
Yeah, on the instrument
Map.
survey that we were shown, it
they,
shows
is
the
it-
stone drive.
has the stone, let's put it this way, has the driveway been enlarged by any more than the minimum requirement? You know, if it's 20 feet, did that show 20 feet much deeper than what is the minimum?
Let's see, it shows,
Trying to minimize,
according to what we're provided here, it shows 29 3/4 foot across.
right?
If you want to take a look at that.
Yeah. They're showing, the survey plan shows it's widened on the 2-car garage side rather than the single-car garage side. Makes sense. Now, if you're looking at it,
See, mine shows 29
at the road,
Right, at the gutter.
At the road.
yeah, but is this how it was approved, I guess? Or is this?
This instrument survey was done probably for C of O, I would think, right? So that means that at some
See-
point in time, it was done,
Yes, code said that the C of O, the temporary C of O, again, was given in March, so it didn't have a lawn, didn't have a bunch of stuff, but that was given with a stone base that
Uh-huh.
was smaller than this.
right?
So the stone base was without the cross-hatching?
Correct.
It's in only the speckled area? And the cross-hatching is an area that was added, I guess? I didn't expect this to be such a challenge. Let's see. So what was originally approved didn't show driveways, I'm assuming. And then the instrument survey showed only the speckled area? And then this was added afterwards to the survey map?
So at conditional, this was all just binder stone, and it was only supposed to be this?
Yeah,
and it kind of curved up, and then when they paved it, so they don't have a clean C of O yet. They only have a conditional still. They just kind of went and did that. But this was what was on your site plan for the subdivision,
Showing the 20 feet. Okay.
all driveways.
And they would have to go 20 feet back to the right-of-way line? Is that what I'm
10
hearing?
feet, I think, they would have to go back in, so 20 feet up
Okay.
into the right of way. This whole little triangle.
I'm wondering how much they could flare, how soon they could flare it in with, removing the minimum amount. I mean, you already spent a couple $1,000s to put this in. I get it that it was not in compliance with the code. Just, how can we comply and make sure that it gets done this way in the future, the 20 feet rather than 30 feet? And there are already a couple more that are already paved in the subdivision like this?
First home, when you enter. and
model?
The model, and then,
Perfect.
which we were told, so when we saw it,
Yeah.
that the 3-car garage was an option, that's when we brought it up. And we were told when it was just the stone, this is just the stone because we can't pave it yet because of the temperatures. And when you backed out of the 2nd-car garage, you had to cut into the left side because it was straight off of the 3rd-car garage, which that's not the primary garage that we use for parking.
Right.
So it creates, so that's why the request was put in by us to our contractor.
So since the driveway's already in, if you had to trim it, would you trim it from the opposite side then?
If that would be allowed, because it doesn't,
20 feet doesn't matter, I don't think.
okay.
So you could go towards the 2-car garage, huh?
Detail doesn't say it matters.
It can be 20 feet,
Right,
whatever.
yeah. So they could line it up with the 2-car portion of the garage, and cars would just go in and out much more easily. And then the 3rd-car garage would taper back to 20 feet, from 20 feet out to 30 feet or so, by the time you got out to past the right-of-way.
But this is potentially the third home. So there's been kind of a.
Yeah, I'm a little confused why Ryan would have put their driveway in incorrectly. And it looks actually wider than 30 feet, honestly.
This one is 1529.
Is what?
1529 Beaumont. So
Okay.
it must be a couple that way.
1507 is the model home, I believe, is the number.
So it's 15, so these guys are already, it's in, have they got a C of O and everything?
I'd have to check, but this one was brought up by code officer also.
I'm not here to throw my neighbors under the bus.
No, I
just wanna
understand.
make
I
that- put that on record,
I'd rather
please.
have a happy neighborhood.
We have a lovely neighborhood,
Yeah.
Facebook group and all.
It's very nice development.
Is Ryan Holmes or the contractor taking any responsibility for this if there's
They-
a need for a retrofit?
My understanding was my husband has been in contact with Ryan Homes because of course our general contractor, project manager is no longer with Ryan Homes. So we've been getting passed around a little bit with who we discussed this with. But they just told us this is the process. We were under the impression they were taking care of the process, so.
Well, they didn't offer to come to the meeting here instead of you and talk to us about this.
Well, to be in fairness to Ryan Homes, we didn't know about this meeting till this afternoon, so I am here just because last minute, but
Would you like to have them come?
if you think that's necessary,
Well, if they're portraying this as a code-compliant approach to driveways in the town, and you're certainly, as would I, honestly, not aware of what the
I
actual
do not
widths
know
are.
yeah.
So, and you found out the hard way. I'm assuming the other neighbors would have assumed that it's okay because the model home is 3-car garage width, which we need to deal with Ryan on theirs. So rather than push this ahead this evening, I guess I would suggest that we have Ryan come in and address it.
I think we should. I think it would be a very productive discussion.
Yeah.
I do too.
And I think, this resident is a fall person, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
think
you're
this
the
is-
guinea pig at the moment for application of a waiver that clearly is not something that you would have been ahead of when you agreed to have them or asked them to widen your driveway, which I understand why, but I would suggest, setting this, tabling this and asking Ryan to come in and address, can we,
We can reach out to Ryan and you can reach out to Ryan, but,
well, they have a model home that can't be approved as a C, with a C of O unless they,
Yep.
you know,
we can look into that and
okay. I would do
we'll
that.
table you to the next meeting, which is August 27th.
Okay, all right,
You
thank
can
you.
still live in your house and.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Very good. Now, am I allowed to leave?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
No, you got to sit in that chair the rest of the meeting. Thank you for your patience. And I guess we have to reach out to Ryan Holmes and tell them that, I don't know, maybe, does codes do that? They would notify them that their home is in non-compliant with the driveway, I would assume?
Yep,
And that
so
they
they've
need to
been,
Represent the neighborhood for that item?
they're in that neighborhood quite often with all the inspections with the houses, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
we'll pull that one up. And then, like I said, they have another one that they've been.
I think they should be told to let the folks who are building homes know that currently any driveway wider than 20 feet is non-compliant with town code. So don't do it unless they're ready to go through what these folks have, so,
We can reach out.
okay. Second item, this is not a public hearing, Lightcom's new building. Applicants requesting approval of the architectural elevations of 20,000 square foot approximate building with associated utilities, drainage, and 28 new parking spaces on 9.7 acre parcels. This is at 7321 State Route 251. Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you again.
You too.
Andrew Kohler-Wittola with Lightcoms at 7321 State Route 251. So, as you mentioned, we are seeking site plan approval or finished site plan approval. We have a conditional approval at the moment, just waiting on architectural drawings to be looked at. So I actually brought Nate Rossi with me from Rossi Architects, who did the drawings for us. And we had a couple of comments back from Labella. And so the first one was about the facade that is on the front side of the building back in the, I guess this photo's fine as well. So we are putting up a brick facade to match what we have at our current building that's on the property. There were some suggestions to raise that facade all the way to the top of the windows. When we did that and reviewed it, because of the length of the building and the proportions of it, it looked, frumpy is not really a good architectural word, but it kind of looks squished down at the top. So what we did and what we think looks very, very nice is to bring the brick up about a quarter of the way up into the windows and then run it across and kind of undulate it around the windows to give it more of almost like a residential type look versus the maybe more 70s era design motifs. So we're very happy with what Nate did with the job. We put him kind of through the ringer on the front entrance and came up with a pretty cool design, I think. And then the second comment that we had was about the windows on the backside, so it'd be the third one down, which faces the railroad tracks that are running parallel to 96.
This side here?
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
So we did add, we added the windows in the front. On that section, we were getting some pushback because the building will be a DOD cleared building and it will have ITAR equipment in there. It will have GFE, government furnished equipment, in there. Our FSO, our security officer, was not too happy with having windows on kind of an unsecure area, but we did put the brick facade around that side so that if and when that road goes in, it'll look a little bit nicer, and then hopefully we're still there. But if we're not, someone else can maybe put some windows in if they need to. But we're also happy with that backside if the board is as well. On the third comment was, which one was the third? I think the third comment was about the HVAC system. On the site plan, there was a comment saying that there was not a pad in the back for the mechanicals, but it was on page 1. I'm just not sure if LaBella had the latest site plan. So on page 1, next to the back dock is a small concrete pad, and then same for The fourth comment, which was on the dumpster enclosure, so on the I guess the top elevation there, there's a dumpster enclosure in between the two garage doors. And then on the, I believe it's the 9th page of the site plan, has the detail of that, so it shows that there's like a fence going around it.
I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling through, so you can keep going, or if you
I think that was my whole
have
spiel.
comments. Okay. Questions from the board? Joe?
No, I kind of like it. I
thank you.
appreciate the doorway, too. I like that little angle. It's kind of pointing off to space a little bit, which is kind of your business, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see where it ends up, but we may be seeking approval to do that in the current building as well, kind of match things.
No, I think you did a nice job.
Thank you, thank you.
Ernie?
No, I haven't commented at all. I think it's done a good job.
You should, Ernie, if you can move closer to your mic, I think that way
Sorry.
it gets to the public.
I say I don't have any comments. I thought that they've done a good job.
Okay. Matt?
I guess the only comment I have is, you don't seem to have very many windows. Is that for a particular reason? Is because you have a unique building use here?
Yeah, so we do the satellite communication systems, and you're kind of aware. So we actually, off record, we had a break-in down at Parrington Square. Once people know, they are going in and trying to take pictures, and I don't know what they're doing, but it causes problems for us. So that's what kind of pushed our FSO, who handles our DoD security clearance, to say, listen, like, if we can limit the windows, that would be preferable.
And your emergency egress isn't an issue for the few doors or windows that you have, correct?
I do not believe so. No.
Okay.
No, we have.
To me, it looks like there's not much way to get out in certain parts of that building.
Yeah, so we have on the top elevation, there's 2 egress doors. In the middle one, there's 3. On the back,
Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
believe
There's,
there are. Yep.
it's hard to see on here, so yeah, thank you.
And then on the front, there's one.
There's,
the main
is there
entrance.
one like right there?
I don't believe so. No.
Oh, I can't use those. All right, gotta go back to my other. I can read it closer. Oh, okay. Any other questions from the board?
I would just say
Scott?
it would be great if they could have more windows, but if that's the reasoning behind it and it seems justified, then I
Yeah.
think it's okay, but
That sounds like a security issue.
ideally, I'd like to see more windows.
I'm with you, Scott. I'm a Windows guy, but
Well, if you're ever not in that building, someone else could add them if they would like.
Right.
So-
yeah, there's every 20 feet. Is it? I think you can add bays of windows. We did look into that.
Yeah, okay, so that's somewhat modular, and
Yes.
you have the ability to
Somewhat flex.
reasonably, flex space, basically, so, okay. Not a public hearing, so there's no other items. I agree with the comments I've heard about the architecture is calmer, I guess I'd call it, and blends better, so especially from the road, that's very important, so.
Yes, and I didn't know if I needed to hand in anything in writing, but I wrote up a letter as well. But we're keeping the buffer in front of that as well, so we're gonna do this really nice job on the front and then kind of cover it up, leave it covered up, but hopefully you can see it a little bit from maybe the pond side.
It's nice when you can see it in between things, it's not so
Yep.
bad.
Yeah.
Especially a light industrial building like that, so good. I don't think we have anything else, anything from Labella? So, believe,
And thank you for working with us on the fire hydrant as well. That was
oh, all
was
right.
out of my element on that one.
Okay, so I do have a resolution for this application, now that we've gone through our revisit of it, and I'll read it now, if you guys are okay with it. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact for application 16 SP 2024, Lycom's architectural site plan at 7321 State Route 251. There are 4 whereases. Number 4 says, condition number 6 of the July 9th, 2024 site plan approval stated that architectural renderings are subject to further planning board review. And pursuant to the comments made in the architectural consultant letter dated June 12th, 2024, now therefore be it resolved that the building design shall be consistent with the architectural details as shown on the building elevations entitled Lightcom's Architectural Site Plan dated August 2nd, 2024, as prepared by Razi Architects and received by the Planning Board on July 30th, 2024, miraculously 2 days before August 2nd, be approved with the following conditions. Number one, the comments in the letter dated August 9th, 2024 from the architectural consultant be addressed, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So do I hear a motion for approval of that resolution?
I'll move.
Ernie moves, Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
No, we appreciate your staying in the town and expanding your business.
Absolutely. We're excited.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Number 3 is a public hearing, Hep Pond Site Plan Modification, 6755 Gillis Road. The owner is Accurate Acoustical Incorporated. Applicant is requesting to modify the August 24th, 2023 approved site plan. Proposed changes include separating the pump house from the dining sitting area, separate waterfall feature from the pump house, including a new retaining wall on the north side of the pond, include a gravel parking area, and reduction in pond size. Oh, and Scott has to recuse. He's been involved with the project, so it's just the three of us. Good evening.
Good evening.
By the way, I do have a Dropbox because I was able to see everything, because I don't have it here. I
Oh,
don't need it.
okay.
No.
You got Scott's stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Good evening. Dan Hobbs. I'm speaking on behalf of Scott Hepp, who couldn't make it. Address Rochester, New York. We're requesting approval of a previously approved site plan that since has been modified. The original site plan was approved in August of 2023. After the approval, the owner was introduced to a pond designer who reviewed his design. And based on recommendations from the pond designer, modifications were made to the scope of work to impact the layout, both aesthetically and functionally. I'll quickly go through the changes that we're proposing. Pond was reshaped and downsized. The pump house was separated from the waterfalls feature and relocated. It was relocated from the west side of the pond to the east side, closer to the inlet area.
So we have we have information up on the screen. There is a laser in front of you if you'd like to use it and point to it.
Okay, that
So you
was,
go back to the other,
yeah, that was the original site plan. We have a new one.
I think there was one, there you go. Yeah, thank you.
That shows them side by side. One's approved and one's
So the
proposed.
approved is on the left. And
Okay.
you started discussing that the pond is smaller and so some rearrangements of features. So if you want to point to those, that would be helpful, I think.
Sure, as soon as I figured how, okay, there's a button
Be
here.
a button on the side that
Okay, all right.
if you're aiming in the right direction, you're good.
All right, the pond, the original design is on the left-hand side. The new proposed site is on the right-hand side, like you said. And you can see this shape of the pond has been redesigned and made smaller than the original. On the original plan, we had the pump house connected with the waterfalls and with the dining site area. In the new plan, we have moved the pump house to this location here, and the waterfalls is relocated to the other side. Now, the pump house was relocated to this side because it's closer to the inlet area. And then the water feature, the waterfalls feature, was raised to a different location because of the grade. The grade became higher than the pond, so the water flow from the waterfall to the pond would be more gravity fed. The other item is, once we did start the excavation part, the slope right through here, we realized in order to get the excavator to do his work around that pond, we had to remove that hill. And we're proposing, instead of infilling it, and once construction's finished, we can do a retaining wall. And the final item is the parking area. Once construction started, the owner realized that with all the activity going on, the contractors and storage area was kind of small because it's the front part of the house, that he needed additional parking. So he created a parking area here for the contractors because parking along the side of the road was not an option. We got a steep grade, there's no shoulder, and so he had that built, and he's asking if we can keep that as a permanent parking area.
So to build that parking area, as I understand it, you actually have a retaining wall?
Yes, there is a retaining wall there, yes, yeah. Okay. Any questions?
No?
Oh, everything I just noted, there should be in your packet, a letter from the owner explaining the same thing, but a little better and longer than I did.
Yeah. And if I recall from the approval process last year, the pond is approximately 10 feet deep.
Yes, that's correct.
And any water coming out of that is pretty much going to be as a result of rainfall and water coming out the spillway then at the top.
Correct. The spillway is located on that side of the pond, away from any kind of neighbors.
So you moved it around, it looks like, from where it was before? It was on the left?
On the left side, that's where the spillway was, and it's right there. Similar location.
And sorry, Joe, does that create a different water flow across the property?
You mean, you talk about the overflow?
Yeah,
No, I would go, there's houses along this side of the lot line,
okay.
and the inlet or the outlet is right here, and that just goes to the property the Scott does own.
So the slope is such that no matter where you put it along that line, it ends up in the same spot at the corner of your property, basically?
Pretty much,
Okay.
pretty much, yes, yes.
That's what
And
I
that's
thought.
where I was going to. That's okay.
Okay, yeah, no, good.
Yeah.
And that's all I've got.
Oh, all right. Ernie, questions?
I don't have any, it looks pretty good.
Okay. How close is that wall for the parking, the extra parking to the property line? Is that,
The retaining wall?
yes. It's within the setback. Okay, yeah, it's delineated on one of the drawings.
Yeah, I don't know what the dimension is on that.
Yeah, there's, Kate just pointed out, there's a setback dash line on your first plan sheet.
Right, but
And
the,
it's well within that, it looks like 5 feet or something at least from
Yeah.
the setback, so. And what's the status or the condition of the ground right now? Is grass growing? Does it need to be protected still from erosion?
yeah, we submitted a soil stabilization plan,
Okay.
and we've done everything that was asked of us, and the grass is growing, yes.
Keith's got his hands full, but I was going to ask him if he has any comments about that in particular. How are they in compliance with the plan was submitted, and is there erosion?
Sure.
Yeah, as far as I know,
Yeah.
when we discovered that it was not going in the direction of the approved plan and they issued the stop work order, they had them restabilize everything. And to my knowledge, everything on site is good at this point, and he's been super cooperative
Okay.
since then, so.
All right, well, that's good to know. Appreciate that. It is a public hearing. It's open. Is there anyone interested in or have any questions for the applicant or for the board for this? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, pass 3-0, so the public hearing is now closed. Any other comments or questions from Kate or?
Kate Powers, LaBelle Associates. So I did not get a chance to review the applicant's response to our comments. I did sort of a quick run through of that. Our comment letter was mostly clarification items, so clarifying how the water intake bay and the discharge streams will function, materials that are going to be used for the walkway, details on the site plan for how the waterfall and stream areas will cross that walkway. So kind of just, not necessarily things that have to do with like layout, but just
Okay.
how things are going to work. Additionally, because there's a disturbance of 1.2 acres, that it falls under the general permit needing a SWIP. The applicant had indicated that they submitted a soil stabilization plan. I think that's something that can be worked out with Keith and the town and Mary and the applicant to make sure that that's all taken care of.
Okay,
And then also including a pond lining detail and a signature block, which it looks like the applicant is agreeable to those minor additions.
okay. So, nothing that can't be resolved through question and answer as a condition of approval? Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so I think we'll move forward with the resolution I have in hand. Thank you very much for your cooperation, as I understand it, so we'll move forward with this. For the Het Pond site plan modifications, it's 6755 Gillis Road, application 19 SP 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 9 of them. Now therefore be resolved, the application of Scott Hepp, site plan entitled Het Pond Site Plan Modification, received by the planning board July 11th, 2024, planning board application number 19 SP 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. Item 1 is standard. Number 2, that comments in the letter dated August 13th, 2024 from stormwater manager be addressed. Number 3, the comments in the letter dated July 31st from the code officer be addressed. Number 4, the comments in a letter dated August 8th, 2024 from Labella Associates be addressed. Ongoing conditions, numbers 1, 2, all of them are our standard items. So, except number 4, that the applicant's engineer verify the size and depth of the pond upon completion that is per the approved site plan. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So, I hear a motion for approval of that resolution.
Move.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 3-0. So,
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
okay, thank you.
So when can he get back on the site and start to continue his work?
You will need to complete, and there's a pre-construction meeting as part of your conditions, so
Right.
what you need to do is follow up with these conditions. I need to have everyone sign off on them, and we have a site plan, a signature, and then you'll meet with Keith in the office for a pre-construction meeting, and then the stop work order will be lifted.
Great. Thank
So
you
we
so
can work
much.
through it pretty quickly if you respond quickly.
Yeah, thank you. Really
Okay.
appreciate it, running out of time weather-wise. Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 4 was removed from the agenda, as I noted earlier, the Bluestone Trail. Item 5 is not a public hearing. It's a sketch plan application, Smith subdivision. Applicants requesting acknowledgement of a complete application to subdivide a second parcel from the existing parcel at 421 County Route 9. Lot 1 is proposing a lot line adjustment for a total of 1.508 acres. Lot 2 will consist of an existing home with driveway access to County Route 9 on 2.068 acres. And yeah, if you could get Scott, Keith.
Scott, he's going to get it.
Lot 3 will consist of .92 acres with access onto County Route 9. This is the first step of a major subdivision, and only acknowledgement of a completed application will be considered at this meeting. Again, it's not a public hearing, but we will have a public hearing at the next step. So when Scott sits down, we can move forward. Scott, sorry, I read through the application notice before I had you come in, but I'm sure we'll get a proper review as we start. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Anthony Venezia, representing the Smiths for their project tonight. So they purchased 421 County Road 9 with the thoughts of doing a 2-lot subdivision. So the goal is to cut off the existing house that's there and then create a buildable lot along County Road 9, and then retain as kind of a buffer area between the two lots and behind their house, retain that for their own personal use.
When you
for the
say cut
future.
off the house that's there, can you point that out on the
Yeah,
site?
so so they live at 5.
Okay,
And they bought the yellow outline property, 421. So the
Alright.
goal is to cut this off on its own lot, 421, and then have a buildable lot up off of County Road 9.
okay. So,
And then the rest of the property kind of between the 421 property and the new potential building lot would be annexed to 5,
okay.
to 5 Stoneleigh Trail.
Yeah, Susie, could you put the survey map back up, please? Thank you.
So as part of this project, there is the access for 421 right now does come along the south side of the property along a private drive.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry,
goal-
421 is.
Yeah, 421 is
this house
there.
here. Yeah, okay.
So you'll have that private drive access still. We would like to look at putting a driveway off of Stoneleigh Trail, just because it's a little bit closer. There's kind of a goofy alignment of the way that there's a driveway that goes up and a driveway that goes past. Kind of want to clean some of that up in the future for a potential new home owner if they want to redevelop the house. The house needs a significant amount of work, just whoever ends up buying it. The reason for some of the pinch point down here is there's a giant willow tree that the Smiths want to retain to make sure it stays there and it doesn't get cut
it
down
what?
because it's a significant tree.
There's what?
This pinch point that you kind of see on the south part of the parcel that the Smiths will retain at 5 Stoneleigh, there's a giant willow there that they'd like to retain, so they want to make sure that they keep ownership of it so they can keep it there. It's in good condition, they just don't want someone to cut it down. So that kind of creates that little pinch point there.
Okay.
But that's pretty much the project.
So you mentioned this driveway here, and I know that this comes up to the parcel
Yep.
next to it, right? And it peels off to this house that you're creating the
In
lot
two
for.
different areas.
In two, yeah.
Yes.
And I was looking at the aerial of it, and Susie, do you have an aerial of that?
They're very narrow driveways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So one of them peels off, sorry, one of them peels off back here where these trees are and comes to, I was trying to figure out what that is.
that is just a turnaround parking
So
area.
it's a very large, is it paved or
It's
stoned?
paved.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
And-
paved, but it's in not great condition, but it is paved.
So then the other one peels off of the driveway and goes
And that
around
goes to the walkout.
That's where the garage is, right?
Correct.
On
There's
that
a-
side,
Yeah,
the
there's a
Stoneleigh side?
walkout in there. I don't think they use it as a garage, but that was kind of like the original intent, just the way that the project was, or the property was developed originally.
So if you wanted to tie into Stoneleigh from here,
Correct.
would you get rid of this piece?
I believe that would be one of the options. I think that
I
they're
mean, it'd basically
looking
be
at it.
removing access from this common driveway or shared driveway by doing that and putting us straight out to Stoneleigh,
Right.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what would you do with this other turnaround?
There is ample amount of room to be able to possibly come in off of Stoneleigh and create a new driveway that
Looping-
wrapped around
looping
at the
around
top.
here?
Yeah, and then cut off that rest of that if necessary. Right now, they wanted to retain that access in case it wasn't something that the board would, approve coming off of Stoneleigh. there is a lot of frontage on that lot off of Stoneleigh. It kind of makes more sense if that house has access off of Stoneleigh.
Okay, I have some personal opinions about what you could do there and what
Yeah.
you're asking for, which is fine. I mean, it's not evil or anything. But I'll open up to the board. Ernie, any comments, questions?
Yeah, is that an existing house? It shows it on the map here, but hard to see it, that photo.
This driveway here?
Where 421 is.
421 is
Right
an
there.
existing
There
home.
is a house there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a smaller home.
That's the one you're talking about, they're talking about selling, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It still exists.
It is there now.
Not
Yeah,
gonna
we're
tear it
just,
down.
what we're planning on doing is cutting off a piece of property so they can retain some land behind their house, because a lot of their outdoor space is pretty close to the back line. So they wanted, the biggest reason for the purchase of 421 was to create some buffer behind them in case someone, tried to develop that lot in a different way.
Yeah,
So-
like make it all one lot behind.
Or try to do 3 or 4 lots or something like that, like they're
That
just,
won't happen, but you could get, what you're doing is acceptable.
Yeah, so they're just trying to get their, protect their property and then create another buildable lot to retain some of the,
By the way,
the
I
cost
know
of
from
affordable.
experience that Willows is going to get bigger.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Have you or the owner spoken with the resident right next with the shared driveway about this?
Originally, there was some contact between the Smiths and the neighbor. We did look at trying to do a 3 lots, 2 extra building lots instead of 1. He wasn't too happy with the extra building lot, so we're hoping that he'd have a little bit better of a aspect on doing the 1 lot instead
Okay.
of trying to do 2.
Right?
He has been in contact with the planning board, but knew this was not a public hearing, so.
Okay, so we may hear at the
Yes.
meeting. Ernie, anything else?
No, that's all I had.
Scott?
This is a discussion on a conceptual subdivision that presumably would need to come before us for site plan, right? So I think access is an important item to talk about right about now. And I see that there is a tentative driveway location drawn in with perhaps some site distances associated with it. On the other side of County Road 9, however, there's like 3, if you want to call it up on the aerial, you'll see 3 other individual driveways right across from there. And I go back to the discussions that we've had in the past about our design criteria and the separation of driveways and conflicting turning movements and that sort of thing. Not unlike what we spoke about, I think, last meeting, although I don't think you were there, Joe, for the one a little further on down the road, also on County
Yeah.
Road 9.
I think I know which one you're talking
What
about.
jumps out at me is if there's a way to take that existing easement that's there and somehow make that the entrance point.
So are
or-
you saying double up on the driveway right here from that parcel? Or is
Yeah,
that something
I'm
different?
looking at the survey drawing that
Yeah.
shows an easement there. I mean, that's already a grandfathered connection to County Road 9, right?
Right.
So,
He's talking about this driveway right here, which is a shared driveway
Yeah,
from,
I'm following.
and then there's, I mean, thereby eliminating another connection out to County Road 9.
so instead of subdividing this off and putting a new driveway connection onto 9,
Right.
subdivide it off and tie into this?
Right,
Correct.
Make it a common driveway.
Which it already is, and it
Yeah.
would just be adding a third party. We'd have to look at how that easement was written to make sure that we can do that, and we don't have to have approval from
Right,
the
oh,
neighbor.
that's a
Because
big
more than
thing.
likely, it's not. probably
We have
not.
this, we have the same regulation on our books as the town of Gorham has on their books.
Access management. Yeah.
So when you look at all the individual driveways, and I think, conceptually, it's easy to understand, but I think what I'm noticing and others as well is that County Road 9 is seeing the proliferation of a lot of frontage lots.
Right.
Like this, and then it's a road that's highly traveled and traveled quickly.
Okay. Any other?
Well, that's my comment, but I
Okay.
think in terms of the lots and the way they're configured, and I assume they meet the zoning requirements and everything, so.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I mean, ideally, if everything could be connected to Stoneleigh Trail, that'd be wonderful, but I don't know if that's possible.
I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
I think we're better off trying to do something with the
Yeah.
existing
So-
County
yeah.
Road 9 and then
Yep.
pushing one off to Stone
So
Lake.
those are my comments.
Okay. We could take a look at that, definitely.
Okay. So, Joe, any?
So when I think major subdivision, I'm typically looking for conservation easements on the drawings as well. And this is a little different since there's some existing properties and we're breaking up. Is there still a requirement for conservation easements, or where do we go with that?
As far as I was concerned with talking with the town, most of the land was conserved as part of the overall project in the 70s. And the reason this is major is because this piece was part of the Stoneleigh Trail subdivision. So when they did the Stoneleigh, that calculation in the area that was conserved already counts towards this.
I suspected that was the case, given the
At least that's
existing
what was-
dwellings, so yeah,
yeah.
that works
Yeah.
for me.
So then that's why we're doing a major, even though it's been, quite a while since this was done, so.
Got it.
That kicked us off to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it would seem like doing conservation easements on this site would not be productive.
Yeah, it's kind of counter to what the objective of the site. I
mean, once it's-
In the first place.
Once it's subdivided, it's kind of, there's gonna be the 3 homes and then can't do much more with it
It's not like
anyway,
you're
so-
linking woods and wetlands and all
Yeah,
kinds
it's-
of things with it.
A field and a little bit of woods.
So, anything else, Joe?
No, I suspected that was the case. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Okay, no.
Thank you.
Oh, good question. So my comments were surrounding the driveway changes, access. I think if you want to tie into Stoneleigh, I don't have a problem with that. That's where
Right.
the driveway probably could have been easily,
Right.
because that's where the garage is.
Right.
I still don't get the turnaround up here. But if it's in rough shape, do you still intend to keep it and leave it that way, and whoever buys the property would do something with it?
That's my assumption. We didn't get to the point of tearing out driveways just yet.
So adding another parcel, if you could remove access to that shared driveway and add an access point here
Right.
to the shared driveway, that to me makes a lot more sense, and I agree with Scott about access to County Route 9, than trying to put it on Route 9 and then having almost like a cut-through from Stoneleigh all the way to County Route 9 on private driveway.
Right.
And John Q. Public wouldn't be driving through.
No,
that,
I
But
understand.
still,
I will
it's technically
go
looking
th-
like a cut.
We'll have to go through how that easement was written to make sure that we can do that, and it's not something
Yeah.
that if the neighbor doesn't want this project to happen, that he can just say no, and we can't. So,
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure how it was written, but we can take a look at it.
I mean, technically, it's all
It's
one
on, yes,
parcel.
the easement's totally on 421.
Yeah, so I mean, this
I would assume that
parcel-
we wouldn't be able, it would just be maybe the first 100 feet would
If
be
you wanted to
joint.
change the access to that driveway, you could change it to this parcel and remove it from that
Correct.
parcel and not change, numbers of access to a already existing agreement, if you will.
Gotcha.
But you got some research to do,
Yeah, I understand.
obviously.
Mhm.
So those are my comments. I mean, I would remove as much driveway as possible on that back part
Yeah,
of
it's
that lot.
an interesting configuration for sure.
Yeah, so this would be a nice short access to, I don't think there's any site distance issues or other other problems with tying into Stoneleigh.
And we try to work that driveway so it's pretty close to being across the street from the other access, so it
Yeah, but
lines up a little bit.
because this is a major subdivision, you're gonna have to go through all of that and
Yeah, all
figure out
the-
what works.
Stepping stones.
Keith, do you have any comments? No? Okay. Kate?
Kate Powers, LaBelle Associates. So our comment letter just had 5 comments. 2 of them were just sort of minor edits, a minor edit to the EAF Part 1 and an additional notation. Additionally, for the next step, when this comes back, to verify that there's sufficient site distance. And then 2 of the comments sort of are in line with the general discussion of the proposed driveway on that lot that will not have a house on it. It appears that the distance between the existing shared driveway and that proposed driveway is not great enough. So that's another reason why it would make sense for it to be part of that shared driveway. And then additionally, might kind of just be more technicality, but the town code states that lots in R2 need to have 100 feet of frontage on a public highway, and that shared driveway where they're going to be subdividing it, it's 50 feet. However, obviously, they have sufficient frontage on Stoneleigh Trail, and they will have access to it, so.
Right.
So it's likely not as big of an issue, but
You're talking about the parcel they want to sell. It only has limited amount once they cut this off, correct?
But you've got frontage on 2 sides. You
Yeah.
got road
yeah, it has
frontage.
frontage on 2 sides, so obviously there's plenty on Stoneleigh, but then on County Route 9, it's 50 feet.
I guess where I was going with this,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that both frontages are practical. So if this
okay.
was a cliff, I don't really call that as accessible frontage.
Right.
It's not. So what they're asking
Mm-hmm.
certainly makes a lot more sense than trying to stick with it, come all the way down here, and adding another driveway here. So,
And now that we have some feedback that, the Stoneleigh Trail is definitely a good option, we can take a look at that again with the
I think it's a good idea. I think that the that the driveway here is probably in rougher shape than the repaved section that went to the other parcel on that driveway,
Yeah.
which was, that's what it looks like on the aerial, that it's much better.
Yeah,
newer-
it's
newer
been
pavement.
better maintained because it's the major path, and I don't think anybody's been using
Oh.
421 for a couple of years now, so.
Getting rid of that piece, you got more grass, you got more everything, and a short driveway to maintain in the future, tying into Stoneley. So if all of this works out, site distance and, you know, grading and things like that, I'd certainly much more in favor of that, removing one, adding, you know, putting in
Gotcha.
the
I
other.
understand. Yep.
But the access to County Route 9 is a problem for, I think, most of us here,
Okay.
and code. So I would look towards that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, it, you know, looks like a nice sort of blending of all these parcels to get some nice sized lots for all three homes. So, so this is a request for approval of a sketch plat subdivision, application rather, that it's complete. I assume that with all these comments, any changes that would have to be made don't depend on this. It's going to come on the future application for the actual preliminary plans. So with that, unless there's anything else, I will read this. So for the Smith subdivision, 421 County Route 9, application for SK 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings in fact. There are 7 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that regarding the sketch plan application of Venezia Land Surveyors, major subdivision entitled Smith subdivision, drawn by Venezia Professional Land Surveyors, dated 4/12/2024, received by the Planning Board July 25th, 2024, Planning Board application for SK 2024, the Planning Board acknowledges receipt of a complete sketch plat application, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board Secretary forward a copy of this resolution to the applicant. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll move.
Ernie
I'll
moves.
second.
Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Move forward.
Thank
Got a
you.
lot of comments from us, I think.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. I
it's-
appreciate it.
Unless you have some distress with adjacent landowners or, you know, the agreement,
Let's hope not. Let's hope it goes
Like
smoothly.
you're-
Thank you.
willing, you're able to move forward, so
right.
you're welcome. That's it, right? That would be the agenda. Thank you all for attending. Dave
That's it.
snuck in at the last minute.
It gets three demerits.
It's summertime, you're allowed. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Ernie moves, Scott seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a great couple of weeks till the next meeting, which, Joe, you're chairing, because I won't be here.
Right,
So-
you're chairing the next